Hi, good day everyone. My name is Jupiter Grengia and welcome to Geopeter Studio. Let's get it on. Today's video, we're going to discuss and explore and have a reaction about the microprocessor versus the microcontroller. Let's do this.
I will tell her so. Send it to my phone.
Microprocessor simply consists of the processor, the ALU, the arithmetic logic unit, the instruction decoder, and a few registers, which are used to store data for mathematical and logical operations. For example, 808 Intel processor. The 808 Intel processor is an 8-bit microprocessor produced by Intel and introduced in March 1976. It is a software binary compatible with the more famous Intel 8080 with only two minus instructions added to support its added interrupt and serial input-output features. However, it requires less support circuitry, allowing simpler and less expensive microcontroller systems to be built. Microprocessor Microprocessor contains both combinational logic and sequential digital logic. It is also operates on numbers and symbols represented in binary number system. Microcontroller Microcontroller includes a processor, the ALU or the arithmetic logic unit, the instruction decoder, register, code storage space, flash memory, ROM, RAM, generator purpose, the input-output pins, timers, interrupt controllers, serial communication module, and etc. For example, the Intel MCS 51, commonly termed as 8051, is a single-chip microcontroller series developed by Intel in 1980 for use in embedded systems. The architect of the Intel MCS 51 instruction set was John H. Wharton. Intel's original version were popular in 1980s and early 1990s, and the enhanced binary compatible derivatives remain popular today. It is an example of a complex instruction of set computer and has separate memory space for program instructions and data. Microcontroller is a small computer in a single integrated chip. It is also contains one or more processors, cores along with memory and programmable input-output peripherals. Now let's go to the components of the microprocessor and the controller. CPU. CPU, the central processing unit. The I/O, the input-output unit. The bus, address bus and data bus. The memory, of course, the RAM and the ROM. Timer, the interrupt, serial port, and parallel port. Those were the components of the microprocessor controller. Now let's go to the general purpose of the microprocessor. CPU for computers. Commonly, no RAM ROM input-output on CPU chip itself. Now, CPU, general purpose microprocessor. Now as you can see, the data bus and the address bus goes through the line. First the RAM, the ROM, the input-output port, the timer, and the serial port. So, now let's go to the microprocessor versus the microcontroller. Microprocessor, CPU is standalone RAM, room, input-output timer, and separate. Designer can decide on the amount of the room and input-output ports. Expensive, versatility, general purpose, high processing power, high power consumption, instruction sets focus on processing intensive operations. Typically 32 or 64 bit. Typically deep pipeline stages. While in the microcontroller, CPU, RAM, room, and input output and timer are all on a fixed single chip. Fixed amount of on-chip ROM, RAM, and input output ports for application in which cost, power, and space are critical. Single purpose, control oriented, low processing power. Low power consumption, bit level operations, instruction sets focus on control and bit level operations, typically 8 to 16 bit only, while in the microprocessor, typically 32 and 64 bit. Big difference, right? Typically single cycle two-stage pipeline, while typically in microprocessor, deep pipeline 5 to 20 stages pipeline. That's the difference between the microprocessor versus microcontroller. The evolution of microprocessor. Technology affects the way individuals communicate, learn, and think. It helps society and determines how people interact with each other and daily basis. Technology plays an important role in society today. It has positive and negative effects on the world and impacts in daily lives. We are living in an era where technological advance and common. The internet and cell phones are some examples. However, with technological advance, there are a downside to it all. One aspect of technology that has had great impact on society is how it affects learning. It's made learning more interactive and collaborative. This helps people better engage with the material that they are learning and above trouble with. Also, it gets you better access to resources. With the creation of the internet, it gives us access to information at the 24-hour rate and you have access to almost anything online. In addition, it allows students to get work done easier. That's all. Okay, that's all for this video and I hope you appreciate it and that's all. Thank you.